BTB, what's up? Got one coming at you. Alright, so if you've been paying attention closely, I kind of folded on my 12 videos in 12 days thing. Today's day 13, so I'm going to bust out number 11 and 12 for you right now. And this is a really important one to me, and I think that it'll resonate with a lot of you and hopefully help out a lot, but it is what has been missing in my trumpet playing lately and my experience as a trumpet player. Well, first, show me your kitties. So you guys know that I talk about the skill of chill. And what is the skill of chill? Well, the skill of chill is adding, you could call it a meditative component to your practice. You could call it a not giving a shit component. Whatever you want to call it, to where you're not stressing out, you're not creating anxiety when you're practicing. And I call it the skill of chill because it is a skill. You have to practice doing that. Otherwise, it's easy to get wrapped up in the head games and the negative psychology associated not only with trumpet playing, obviously, but music, but learning things on a longer time frame. So there was a time when I'm out of physical necessity, I was having to learn how to relax my body in between takes or in between phrases or in between tunes. And the thinking for me behind this was that I was getting so beat up that I was just like tightening up. And the way that I think about a tight muscle is a muscle that's flexed. Right? You might not be actively flexing the muscle, but if the muscle is tight, that means that it's contracting. And when it's contracting, it's using more energy than it would be when it's relaxed. When the muscle's using more energy than it would be when it's relaxed, it means that your endurance is going to be lower because you're burning up the energy of that muscle. And of course there's a psychological component there as well. So what I was doing is that I was trying to figure out how I could relax my body. So I actually would go through this practice where 2 or 3 times a day, just randomly, I would really just sit down and try to relax as deeply as I could. And I'd do it for maybe about 10 minutes or so. And in that time I would get into deeper and deeper states of relaxation. And what I found out was that I could recreate those feelings of relaxation if I relaxed my hands and I relaxed my tongue. And then I could slip into that deeper state of relaxation like that, like instantly. So I started doing this on gigs and rehearsals and stuff. And it helped. It helped me get through things that were a little bit beyond my pay grade endurance-wise with the chops that I had. But after I had been doing it for a while, what I also noticed is that the mental benefits of that start kicking in. And what ends up happening is that you're not thinking so hard all the time, and you're able to relax, and you're able to actually, I say kind of like exist a little bit more intuitively because you're not thinking. The point is here is that I have not been respecting that, I have not been practicing that skill, the skill of chill. And so what I do, just to give you an example of kind of like what I'm like on a daily basis, you know, I'm reading my books, I'm writing things from my website, I'm practicing the trumpet, I'm doing my ear training exercises, task. And what can end up happening is that I get into one task and then I'm reading a book, for example, and I'm reading the book and I start to feel anxiety about how I haven't done my keyboard exercises. So I go, ooh, and in this sort of kind of frantic, anxious state, I set the book down and then I walk over to the keyboard and then I go to the keyboard and I'm doing the exercises, but I'm starting from a place of anxiety. I'm starting in kind of like a twisted headspace. And then I sit down and I do the exercises on the piano and then I start missing more and more. I start to get frustrated. I go, oh, this is bullshit. I'm not getting anything out of this, blah, blah, blah. And the anxiety continues to build. And then I stop doing that, and then I walk over to the horn, and then at that point, it's just like a giant, disastrous explosion. I had a gig this past weekend, and we've had a heat wave here in Los Angeles for the past week or so. It has been balls hot. And we were playing this little club, and it was balls hot, and I get all sweaty, and I've always had a little bit more trouble playing on a wet embouchure, especially when I'm fatigued. Things slipping around, I'm missing notes, my endurance sucks, I'm chopping out, my whole face is burning, it's on fire, blah, 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 blah. I start running this, I suck, maybe I should just quit, what am I doing with my life thing, and it's no good. So what I eventually realized is that I wasn't taking that moment to let everything go. Relax the hands, relax the tongue, let your body relax, let your mind be clear for a while in between tasks. instead of just moving from one thing to the next and letting that anxiety build. So I was much better at this when I was performing more, and somehow I just found that learning to not think about what I'm playing while I'm not playing was the best way for me to maintain that concentration, because we want to oscillate back and forth between concentration and deconcentration, if that's the right word. Now the problem with that is that we always want to hold the things in our mind because we're afraid of losing it. So when we're learning things, we want to keep holding the ideas in our mind, because we don't want it to be lost. But that's not really how the mind works. The unconscious or the subconscious mind is what's figuring all this shit out for us. The conscious mind is the voice in our head. We're looking at the pieces of the problem, and maybe we can solve it consciously. 2 + 2 = 4. We can do the arithmetic, we can write it out. But when problems are a little bit more complex, like if we're learning new harmony, if we're trying to learn a new lick, or whatever it is, or we have to go in and we have to be able to play something like pretty much perfectly in like a concert, then we're relying more on the unconscious. So what we want to do in a way is be able to sit down with the thing that we're working on. Say it's something as simple as the C major scale. What we want to do then is to play the C major scale with intention, and we want to maintain as much concentration and energy on that C major scale while we're playing it as we can. And then when we're done, once we've gone from the low C up to the C an octave above that, then we actually want to set the horn down, and we want to take that minute to flush the tension, to flush the mind, and to, in a way, forget that we even did it. There's a book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. It's really good. You know, if you're not like hip to reading a lot of that kind of stuff, then the Zen sort of thing might seem like some weird mumbo jumbo, the way that they use words to describe things. But in essence, what the book is about practicing. There's one idea where he talks about he says the practice should be like a bonfire that's burning very hot. And then when the fire is done burning, there's no more evidence of the fire. All the wood is gone. It's been completely burned up. Another way to think about this is like a whiteboard. So say you're playing that scale, and say the scale is the equivalent of like a math equation or piece of computer code, and you write this thing onto the chalkboard. But for you to make that next step, to make that next discovery, to integrate what you're learning into that next little bit of intuition, you got to wipe the whiteboard clean, or the chalkboard clean. So you've got a clean slate every time you go to the board, you write something out, and you need to wipe it clean again before you can go to work on the next repetition. So each time that we do something, when we're in the moment, we want to be in it. Single-minded focus. But as soon as we're out of it, it's really, really, really helpful to just let it all go, to clear your mind, and then to go at it again. When you start to do this, what you'll notice is that not only your physical stamina improves, but also your mental stamina and your ability to concentrate on problems for longer periods of time. And for trumpet playing, that just means practicing. Being able to practice deliberately, slowly, with intention for longer periods of time. So when you're practicing more and you're practicing at a higher quality, you're going to get a lot better results. So that went somewhere there, but it all came from this idea that the past 3 or 4 days I've been really mixed up, and once I remembered this, I was able to go over to the piano and do the exercise that I've been working on. I would just play a note, listen to the note, identify the pitch, and then chill out for a second. Play the next note, identify the pitch, chill out for a second. Maybe I maintain some memory of the pitch I just heard, maybe I don't, it doesn't matter. After I'm nice and loose again, I'm not in a mindset of wanting to gain, of trying to get somewhere. I'm just cool. I play the next note and identify the pitch. So I was able to sit down, and I don't know how long it took. It felt like somewhere between 10 and 20 minutes that I sat there and did this. And I was able to pass an exercise that I have been struggling with for about 3 weeks. And it's been a source of pain for me. But by learning to let go, by just like learning to let all that go, the body, the mind, the whole, whatever you want to call it, that connection there, and just taking that space in between each thing, I was able to get much better results, and I had a really excellent practice session today, and then I went and played tunes with my friend, and we just had a great time, and it wasn't a big deal, and nobody was trying to get anywhere. So anyway, it's just a little food for thought. It's really a very, very valuable thing, no matter who you are, no matter how, if you're a total beginner, if you're a seasoned professional, start, becoming more aware of that mental component, the tension and release, and having a little bit more respect for the relaxation aspect of work. And I think that you'll notice that you start to get better results almost immediately. It'll just soak into your life. It'll become your life, and it's gonna feel better to be alive. Whoa! I will talk to you later.